And now, a moment of ASMR.
Hello and welcome to this especially exciting episode of Happy Baking. I could not be more thrilled about this episode, which I have affectionately dubbed
Sprinklepalooza!
What's that?
Sprinklepalooza!
Can I hear it again?
Sprinklepalooza!
In this episode, I want to share absolutely everything I know about sprinkles. If you've been following me for a while, you may know that I actually have a sprinkle collection. I love to collect sprinkles because it's a collection you're always using up, which means I have room to add more to the collection. It's even something I like to look for when I'm traveling because they seem to be a little bit different everywhere you go, and they're small and lightweight, so it's easy to bring them in my suitcase. In this episode, I'm going to teach you how you can dye store-bought sprinkles to match any color scheme you can dream up. I'm also going to teach you about making sprinkle blends. We're also going to cover making homemade sprinkles and royal icing transfers. It's going to be the sweetest palooza you've ever seen, so let's get baking. Let's talk about dyeing store-bought sprinkles. This is one of my absolute favorite things to teach people about the world of sprinkles. If you're wanting to match a specific color or you have a particular palette in mind and you can't find sprinkles at the store that go with your vibe, you can actually do this yourself using white store-bought sprinkles. Did you know? This works for really any type. Classic sprinkles, sanding sugar, nonpareils, and even confetti-style sprinkles. White sprinkles can be tinted with gel food coloring or powdered food coloring and luster dust. Gel food coloring is really my favorite because it provides a little bit more saturation. Powdered colors tend to be less saturated, but they also don't require drying after mixing. Luster dust, which is a type of powdered color, is a great option for metallic hues. To dye white sprinkles, place them in a plastic zip-top bag. Add food coloring to the bag, and remember, you can always add more to build up your hue, but you can't take it away, so be gradual. Gently massage the sprinkles in the bag until each piece is fully coated with color. If you're using gel color, the sprinkles need to be laid out on a parchment-lined baking sheet or a silicone mat to dry for at least 1 hour before using. You really don't want to use the sprinkles until they feel dry to the touch. If you're using powdered color, you can skip that step and use or store your sprinkles immediately. The tinted sprinkles can be used on your desired baking project, or they can be stored in an airtight container for future use. Let's talk about making sprinkle blends. It's a popular trend. Sprinkle blends are increasingly popular and they are so eye-catching. These blends combine multiple types and textures of sprinkles in complementary color palettes to create a bold look. Not only are these blends fun to make at home so you can customize your own sprinkle look, they're also a great way to use up sprinkles when you're starting to run out and you just have a little bit left. Making your own sprinkle blend is so easy. You'll need at least 3 types of sprinkles to get started. Remember, many of the kinds you see in stores have as many as 5 to 8 different types of sprinkles mixed together. When choosing different sprinkles for your blend, it can be helpful to start with a color palette in mind or even a theme, like summer. Choose different sprinkle types and shapes for the best look. It's fun to mix things like classic sprinkles, nonpareils, confetti sprinkles, sanding sugar, and even shaped sprinkles like stars or hearts. Since mixing even small bottles of sprinkles means you'll end up with a lot at the end, I also like to remind people that these make for great gifts and party favors. If you use a sprinkle blend on a birthday cake or for party cupcakes, you can send some home with all the guests of the party as a favor to remember the day by. They also make a great stocking stuffer or a general gift for anyone who loves to bake. You can even repurpose the original jars or bottles that the sprinkle came in when you're gifting. Just wash them first to remove the labels. Next up, my actual favorite part. Did you know that you can make homemade sprinkles using royal icing? This is something I talked about in my first book, The Fearless Baker, and that some of my baking friends like Stella Parks of Brave Tart have also popularized. There are so many reasons I love making my own homemade sprinkles. Making your own sprinkles means you can mess around with flavor, size, and shape. While most of the sprinkles you buy in stores typically don't have a lot of flavor, making them at home means you can add anything from vanilla, ground spices like cinnamon or cardamom or pumpkin spice, even things like citrus zest, to give your sprinkles a boost of flavor. You can even use flavorful liquids like fruit juice or a flavorful liqueur instead of water when you make your royal icing to create flavor from the start. Most of the sprinkles you buy in stores are kind of a standard size, but I like to play around with making them different thicknesses. A smaller piping tip means you can make super skinny sprinkles, which end up looking kind of delicate, or you can use a wider piping tip and you end up with these awesome fat sprinkles. It's also possible to make different shapes using royal icing. This is a technique called royal icing transfers, and we'll talk more about that later. The best part about making your own sprinkles is it is so much fun and really easy. To start making sprinkles, first we need to make a royal icing. I like to make my royal icing with meringue powder, which makes it a lot more consistent and it's a lot faster to mix. Meringue powder can be found in the cake decorating section of most craft stores, and I also have some linked in my ingredients and essentials list in the video description below. To make royal icing, combine powdered sugar, meringue powder, water, and any flavorings in the bowl of an electric stand mixer fitted with the whip attachment. First, mix on low speed until the powdered sugar starts to hydrate. Then, gradually raise the speed to medium-high and continue to whip until the mixture is smooth and glossy, 2 to 3 minutes more. If desired, you can taste the icing and adjust the flavorings to make it taste a little bit stronger. And if you want to tint your sprinkles, you can dye the royal icing with food coloring. Royal icing can be made in a variety of different consistencies. For sprinkles, we're looking for sort of a firmer piping consistency. If your royal icing is too thin, you can adjust the consistency by adding more powdered sugar. And if your royal icing is too thick, you can adjust the consistency by adding a little more water. Once you have your icing, it's time to pipe the sprinkles. Line baking sheets with parchment paper or silicone mats. Fit a pastry bag with a small, round tip. The exact size of the tip can vary. Remember, the larger the sprinkles are, the longer they're going to take to dry. So if you're in a rush, you might want to keep your sprinkles on the small side. Pipe the royal icing in long lines across the prepared baking sheets. The lines can be fairly close together, and don't worry too much if they're a little bit wonky or not perfectly straight. Let the icing dry on the baking sheets until totally firm, at least 24 hours. Once they're totally dry, you can remove all of the sprinkles from the baking sheet and transfer them to a cutting board. Sprinklepalooza! Then use a knife to chop them in whatever size you like. Ugh. You can use the sprinkles right away or store them in an airtight container until you're ready to use them. As long as the sprinkles stay totally dry, they'll keep for up to 6 months and maybe even more. These are some of the different types and flavors of sprinkles I made just to demonstrate some of the possibilities. These are flavored with dried spices, pumpkin spice. These would be so great on like a carrot cake, or I mean, honestly, even just a classic yellow cake or a spice cake. I've got some sprinkles here flavored with mango juice instead of water in the royal icing. And oh my gosh, they're so good, tangy. These would be good on so many different kinds of bakes. Really good on donuts, I think. These may just look like white sprinkles, but they're the fattest ones I made, and they are flavored with vanilla bean. These would be so good on so many things. I'd actually love to coat like the entire outside of a cupcake with these. That'd be really good and give it a nice crunch on the outside. And then here I have just 2 different ways of making kind of your own gradient. These I just piped all the sprinkles into little dots. They almost look like chocolate chips, mini chocolate chips. They're so cute. These would be so much fun to use in a lot of different ways. And here is that same gradient, but in kind of a classic sprinkle. And one of the things I like about making my own sprinkles is cutting them a little bit bigger. They just have a lot of impact when you put them onto a baked good, not only visually, but you get this like crunch when you eat them. So just some of the possibilities, but they truly are endless. Okay, let's talk about royal icing transfers. Instead of piping the icing into lines and then cutting them into sprinkles, you can also pipe them into shapes. After drying, these shapes can be lifted off of the paper and applied to cakes and cupcakes as decoration. They're sort of like oversized quins or some of those larger decorations you sometimes see at grocery stores and craft stores. You can intentionally pipe them to have more of a flat shape, or you can turn them over and display the flat side when you're using them. Sometimes I'll use a guide when I'm making these. I might even print it off onto paper and put that under the parchment paper so that I can follow it as I work. This will help to keep the shapes uniform while you're piping. It's also okay to totally freehand it. Honestly, I think that's super fun too. You can even add royal icing transfers to a sprinkle blend for some real pop. After piping, the royal icing transfers need to dry completely before you use them. And remember, the larger they are, the longer they'll take to dry. After the transfer is dry, simply peel it off the paper and then you can apply it to any baked good you like. Store royal icing transfers in an airtight container until ready to use. As long as they stay dry, they'll keep for a long time too. Thank you so much for joining me for this sprinkle-filled episode of Happy Baking. I really hope this episode inspires you. There are so many fun, sprinkly ways that you can decorate your baked goods. Whether you want to buy sprinkles at the store or you feel like making them yourself, the possibilities are endless. If you bring this Sprinklepalooza to your own home, please let me know in the comments or use hashtag #HappyBaking on social media. I always love to see what you're making in your kitchens. You can find some of my homemade sprinkle recipes linked in the video description below. And until next time, wishing you lots of happy, sprinkly baking. Sprinklepalooza!